Hello, everyone. It's Sunday. It's a new week here on Betting Weekly WTA, and it's the end of what has been a very profitable week for us. Rory Jiwani is joining me, our WTA handicapper over in Paris. I bet he's been drinking the Sancerre and the Chablis after last week's Magda Linette's success in Prague. It's Nigel Seeley here. I'm still in Umag in Croatia, where the final was yesterday, and I'm heading home tomorrow. And I tell you what, I've had a few little glasses of vino to celebrate last week's win as well, Rory. Well done, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, Linette, I mean, she made hard work of it getting to the final, but when she got there, following the trend of Madison Keys and Peyton Stearns, who won the week before Roland Garros, when they got to the final, they made very light work of their opponents. I think Linette dropped just 3 games in beating her fellow Pole, Magdalena Freck. Yeah, really nice to get a winner on the board. Obviously, the Olympic tournament started yesterday. It was a lot of rain about, so they could only play on the covered court. Unfortunately, one of my picks for the Olympic women's singles tournament, Yulia Putintseva, pulled out yesterday. So we're just down to Bianca Andreescu in that event. We've got the doubles as well. Yeah, as well as the Olympic Games, we've got a WTA 500 in Washington D.C. It's a bit of a strange clash, shall we say?
Yep, the weather was a bit of a washout over in Paris. No problems with the weather here in Umag. There's no problems with the weather in Washington. It's going to be hot.
It is, yes. I think there's a bit of rain due midweek from what I saw. I think it might be Wednesday. That could be a bit of a washout, and possibly Thursday as well. But yeah, the rest of the week, well, it's going to be hot, high 20s. Yeah, that's right. Tuesday and Wednesday, not looking too clever, but high temperatures, 30 degrees Celsius or more. So we're getting into the 90s Fahrenheit, getting towards the mid 90s. And yeah, it's going to be warm. And Washington, it's a strange tournament because it always seems to clash with either a 250 or a 500. Usually attracts some very good home players, cream of US talent. So in recent years, we've had the likes of Sloane Stephens, Jessica Pegula, who actually won her first WTA Tour title here in 2019. And then Coco Gauff won it last year. But last year, it clashed with Prague, which was then on a hard court, obviously clay this year, and it's moved a week in the calendar. The year before, it was at the same time as another 500, the old 500 in San Jose. And there was no tournament in 2020 or 2021. The finals recently, I say Gauff won it last year. The year before that, Lyudmila Samsonova was victorious. She defeated Kaia Kanepi in the final. Kanepi, the veteran from Estonia, she had an incredible revival that week. And this field, despite the Olympics being on, so obviously there is a clash, the quality of the field isn't too dissimilar to recent years. There is one obvious standout, and that's Aryna Sabalenka, who's the top seed. But obviously the likes of Swiatek, Rebecca is injured, of course, she was due to play in Paris. But Swiatek and Gauff and Pegula are in Paris for the Olympic tournament.
Yeah, just one thing, going back to the Olympics, there is a show, myself and Rory. We're looking at the Olympic Games. You'll still be able to get that. Some of the bets will still be live. You did say Putintseva was one of our picks who has withdrawn. But we do have another pick on there. You'll be able to get that on Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube, or download the podcast, Betting Weekly WTA. But the one thing about the Olympics before we move on to this week is that already we've seen a huge advantage to the favourites, haven't we? I mean, we've seen this roof closed, no play. It's going to be a absolutely crammed schedule. Swiatek on, done. Alcaraz on, done. Kubic, make sweat, done. And all the others, Medvedev through. All the others have got to play back-to-back matches, more weather with delays. So it's with these show courts, it just shows you what the advantage it is to Swiatek here. Well, she's an advantage anyway with the singles, but even though we said that she was probably a better -$2, she's got -250 now. And the way the schedule's going, there's probably even more value.
Yeah, there is. And I mean, as I said in our preview show, that they'll try and make things easier for the players up to a point. But, Gauff's playing singles, women's doubles, mixed doubles. There's no way she's going to be able to avoid playing twice in a day. That's if she goes, deep in all of them. But yes, Swiatek obviously through. Wasn't had to work a bit against Aryna Begu. It's 6-2, 7-5. Not quite the the bread factory the bakery as they call it with Swiatek when she's dishing out bagels and breadsticks. But it's very much in her favour. The weather should be fine now in Paris. Out my window, it's quite sunny and pleasant for the next few days.
You're nearer Cannes than you are Paris from your window.
Yeah, no, I'm not that far out, but it is nice until Wednesday. I think Wednesday is going to be a bit of a washout, perhaps. But the likes of Goff will be able to play her singles probably if she gets that far. She'll probably play her singles on the Wednesday, but the doubles might have to wait for another day. And then we're into real fixture congestion for her. But the likes of, I think Paolini got through yesterday, Jasmine Paolini. She's in the doubles. We'll see how it goes the next few days. But as I say, it's on clay. So it doesn't take much for one match to develop into a 3-hour epic. And then the stamina reserves and the fatigue might kick in. But it's going to be quite interesting here.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Like I said, that podcast is still live. You want to take a look to that here, Rory's picks over in Paris. It's all about Washington here this week. I just must have explained to you, you might see me stretching a bit and you might see me going, I have sciatica on my back and I'm sitting here with an ice pack on my leg where the pain has gone down to my leg. So if you see me going down like this or you see me trying to, it's because the ice pack isn't tight enough and I've got to tie it, because the only way I can get through this show is by applying an ice pack on my knee. So I apologise if you keep seeing me going like this. I just explain what the reason is for that. Anyway, let's move on to Washington this week. As you say, it's a switch from the clay to the hardcourt. It's the American hardcourt campaign. The swing really gets going from here now. Big tournaments coming up. We'll have you covered here on Betting Weekly WTA on the Bet Rivers Network and also on the Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. It's the Washington City Open. Let's give you the draw. Let's have a look at the runners' rise and the draw. And then Rory can tell us what the conditions are like and players should expect, the court speeds and all the important factors when looking for a winner in the American capital. It's a 32 women's player draw, and as like all 500 events, the top 4 seeds get buys through to the last 16. So we have number 1 seed Sabalenka, she's through to the last 16. We also have Ons Jabeur, the number 4 seed. They're both in the top half of the draw, so they're through to the last 16. Very surprised, Jabeur. We'll come on to her in a minute. Very surprised that she decided not to play for the represent Tunisia. In the bottom half of the draw, Samsonova, the former winner here back in 2022, she's in the bottom half of the draw alongside Kasatkina, the number 2 seed. So if you look at the seeded players and who are scheduled to come through, who haven't got buys, Sabalenka will probably more than likely play Azarenka in the quarterfinals, but Pliskova is in that section as well. Jabeur will likely play Potapova because that Q2 does look very weak. In Q3, it looks a tough one. We have Mertens, the number 8 seed. She opens up against Raducanu, so that's a difficult opener. And Samsonova also has Badosa and Kenin. The winner of that will play Samsonova. So that's quite a difficult section, Q3. And Q4 looks fairly comfortable for Kasatkina, and her likely opponent in the quarterfinal is Pavlyuchenkova. As Rory said, it's dominated in the last 2 years by Americans. Goff and Samsonova have won this sort of American perspective. This time around, not one American player is seeded. So the American players are struggling. Russians have done well here in the past. Sabalenka is obviously a Belarusian. She's the number 1 seed. She's the tournament favourite. Before we go into some odds and before we look at your thoughts or share your thoughts on where the best value is, what are the trends? What are the speeds? And what do we got to look for when we're trying to find the puzzle of the winner of the WTA 500 in Washington?
Yeah, well, last year, service hold percentage was 65.5%. And it was 65.1% first serve points won. Actually, very similar statistics to last year's US Open. A bit quicker than the likes of, say, Indian Wells, but we're still on the slow side as far as hard courts go. My recollection, which hopefully isn't faulty, is that they slowed it down a bit after Samsonova won in 2022 to give Goff and Pegula more of a chance last year. And, it worked out for them because that was when Goff found her form. She'd had a pretty dismal season. Well, she won the tournament, the season opener in Auckland, but she'd had a pretty average few months and then suddenly found her form at this tournament last year. And then obviously she went on to win the US Open. Yeah, draw-wise, you'd have to fancy Sabalenka's chances. I think the top half is stronger, not by much, but it is stronger. Obviously, counting against Sabalenka is that it's her first tournament back for a while. She missed Wimbledon with a shoulder injury. She pulled out injured during the first set against Anna Kalinskaya in Berlin. First up, she's got Katie Volinets or a qualifier. Then it's probably either Azarenka or Pliskova, as you mentioned, in the quarterfinals. Azarenka's another one coming back from injury. She also missed Wimbledon. And then most likely on Jabeur in the semi-finals. The Tunisian, you mentioned about her missing the Olympics, and I did have a bit of a look. It's advice from her doctors. She has this long-term knee problem. She's already a 3-time Olympian. So this would have been her 4th, but I've got a quote here from her. It says, "The quick change in surface and the body's adaptation required would put my knee at risk and jeopardize the rest of my season." So, and it's a strange one. I mentioned it in our Olympic preview. A lot of these players, they've not long played Wimbledon, so they've had the grass. And next, normally, would be going to the hard courts in the United States. And some have gone back to clay. Obviously, we had the tournaments this week in Prague and Iași in Romania. But, for some players, they're going to have to switch from grass much quicker, back to really slow clay, and then back to the hard courts in the USA, which are a bit quicker. So, Jabeur, as on doctor's advice, she's elected to skip Paris, and she's in Washington D.C.
Yep. So Jabeur, let's have a use a bet to see where Jabeur features on the betting with Bet Rivers to win the Washington City Women's Tournament. Sabalenka, as you said, they're quite a relatively easy draw. She's the favourite, no surprise, the number 1 seed at plus 188. Second favourite is Raducanu. That is a surprise to me. She's $8. Which I don't understand that at all, but we'll find out if you agree with me. She's a joint second favourite, though, with Jabeur at $8, Samsonov at $8. Paula Badosa is showing some signs of a bit of a rejuvenation in her season 4. She's had a bad season, but she's showing some signs that she's back. She's split up with Tsitsipas, their friends, and now she's playing well at the moment. She's 11-1. Kazatkina is 12-1, the number 2 seed. Is 14, scheduled to play Sabalenka in the quarterfinals. Then we have Potapova at 16-1. Then we have down the list there. We have down to 20-1 Pliskova. Buzukova is 28-1. And I can't read my writing on the other one at 16-1, but you'll be able to tell me. Pavlyuchenkova, 16-1. I can't read my writing. This is the problem. This is the problem when we record it on Zoom because of the internet connection. Graphic man John usually have the graphics so I can see them perfectly, and I have to rely on Seeley's writing, and it's like a child's. Like I'll be the people say doctors have bad writing. My handwriting is terrible. I think a generation of people forget to write. We're always on computers. That when we write things down. And whenever I write birthday cards or Christmas cards, I always write happy birthday. And then I just, because it's so rare, like they give me a card, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday, or so-and-so's at Christmas, it's so-and-so's birthday, and I write happy Christmas. And what my son, so I'm changing the subject slightly, but one Christmas I got given a card for my kids. So listen, got to wish the kids happy Christmas. So I put, dear Harry, happy Christmas, love Nigel. And I just didn't put Dad, just put love Nigel. And I did the same for my daughter's one, just completely it's age, and also we forget to write. So my handwriting is a business. So sometimes when I stall over these players, it's that I just can't read my handwriting. But anyway, we got there in the end. Possible over 16-1. We got Pavlyuchenkova at 16-1. We have Pliskova at 20-1, and Sloane Stephens leading the American hopes as well at 20-1.
Yeah, so there might be some scope. There are some qualifying matches later today. Tournament gets underway tomorrow, so there might be a few changes to those. Yeah, Raducanu, $8. Interesting.
Got a tough opener as well. She got to play Mertens.
Well, you say that she beat Mertens very comfortably at Wimbledon. So I think that might have been reflected in the betting. And Mertens is a funny one. She's a very hard player to get right because she can be very competitive one day and a bit easy to beat the next. It's yeah, I can see why Sabalenka is favourite, certainly. As I mentioned, she is the obvious one, but there is that question mark over her shoulder, which must have been bad for her to miss Wimbledon, being one of the slams that you'd think she would have a very good chance of winning. And as I said, her draw doesn't look too bad. You know, Azarenka in the quarterfinals or Pliskova in the quarterfinals. But the bottom half, I mean, you know, Sabalenka Jabeur in the semi-finals is the one looking most likely. I mean, Jabeur's quarter, Potapova, you think would be the only threat to her in that second quarter. So Sabalenka Jabeur in the semi.
Well, when I do these things, Rory, I always look for, like, you know, obviously when we speak, I say Sabalenka will play Azarenka, and I try to find like the opponents that could give them problems along the way, like the dangerous floaters. I couldn't find any dangerous floaters in Q2, and I couldn't find any dangerous floaters in Q4 either.
Q4, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I mean, Pavlyuchenkova not been in great form of late. And Kasatkina's solid. I mean, the worry for Kasatkina is if Badosa gets through. Badosa's got a good recent record against Kasatkina. She beat her at Wimbledon 6-4 in the third. That third quarter does look the toughest, the most competitive. You know, Raducanu, she should beat Mertens, I think. And then she gets one of two Americans, Clervy and Ganoy, or Peyton Stearns. You'd expect her to win that. And then it's probably either Badosa or Samsonova, former winner. As you say, Badosa has been showing good signs. She looked good at Wimbledon. She served really well against Karolina Mukova in her opener. She did beat Kasatkina. She fell to Donna Vekic, who reached the semi-finals. When I looked at this before the odds had come out, because the draw was on Friday, and I had a look on, I think it was Saturday morning. I had a look at what I thought of the tournament, and Badosa was the first name I put down. And I thought I'd get a price about her, and I haven't really. I thought she'd be a bigger price than Kasatkina, and she's not. She's she $11 to Kasatkina's 12. And I think out of the two, I prefer Kasatkina because I think she's got an easier route through to the semi-finals. I think she should win. Well, she's got a bye because she's the second seed, so that's an advantage.
Well, she should win that one. If she doesn't win that one. She's a good player, that Lindsay bye. But if she doesn't win that one, we're in trouble.
Yeah, it's she might just withdraw like half of my other players the last week or two. Then Caroline Dollarhide or Lesia Serenko, she should get through that fairly easily. And then probably in the quarterfinals, Pavlyuchenkova or Sloane Stephens, who's very in and out, more out than in these days. And then she's into the semis, and she could get Badosa, she could get Samsonova. And I think, if she was to face Badosa again, slower conditions than at Wimbledon, I think would suit the Russian. So I think Kasatkina's the pick here. The top half looks, assuming Sabalenka's back to full health, and you have to take it on trust that she is. I mean, she's not a betting proposition really at plus 188. And Jabeur as well. I still have doubts about this knee injury. And I think we discussed in one pod earlier in the year, maybe she's sort of saving herself for the slams these days because of that knee injury. She doesn't seem to perform that well in the smaller tournaments, but in the slam, she has gone reasonably deep in them. So, but who would you pick from the second quarter as an alternative? And we're betting each way. So are any of them going to beat Sabalenka? Probably not. So I think, the bottom half is where to look. The third quarter is tough. It's competitive. Raducanu would have a chance. Badosa would have a chance. Samsonova would have a chance. But in the fourth quarter, Kasatkina looks the standout, and she would be my pick at $12 a point each way. I think, she's very solid. She usually beats the players she should beat. Conditions should be in her favor on the slower side of, slow side of medium on hard courts. And she's a good player, and she's got seeding. She's got a good draw. I can't see her falling before the semi-finals, she should at least give us a run for our money. And $12 is quite a big price, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the strategy, because that Q3 is very tough. And, you're going to take a price on Badosa, Samsonova or Raducanu. You're taking prices that are 4 points less than Kasatkina. And the fact that she's the number 2 seed, the fact that she's the higher ranking player, and the fact that she's been given a very very easy draw, in my opinion, at Q4, I'm surprised if she doesn't get to the semi-finals. And then whoever she plays in the semi-finals is going to come through some pretty tough struggles to get there. So I like Kasatkina here, Rory. I like to 12-1, and I like the figures at the moment. The figures are doing very well. WTA showing up plus 12.19 units.
Fantastic.
Thanks to Lynette last week and a couple of nights. Yep. So we're looking good heading into the American hardcourt season. The swing's coming up. We've got some big tournaments coming up. We'll have you covered here every week on Betting Weekly WTA, with the build up to the US Open, just a month away now. So it's all very exciting stuff. It's tennis all the way here. Not only is the tournament in Washington, WTA tournament, it's also an ATP tournament as well. It's a mixed event. And myself and Sean Calvert will be recording Betting Weekly Game Bet Match on the a little bit later on this morning. Sean will be very happy, because Sean had a 5-hour delay yesterday coming back from Beulah. And I know he's the kind of guy who will take it in his stride, no problems, won't complain. Him, Lagan and his wife were sitting in it was hot yesterday, it was very hot, and he was sitting in a 40-degree departure lounge with no air conditioning. So I'm sure he'll be in great spirits later on when I speak to him, looking ahead to the tournament in Washington as well. Remember, there's a few ways to follow everything we do here on Betting Weekly. And that Because We Win. Because We Win is our Twitter and our social handle. You can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at Because We Win. You can also follow us on YouTube, or subscribe to us on YouTube and a YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios. Lots of new subscribers there, lots of great content on the show. Whether you agree with the picks or whether you disagree with the picks, let us know what you think. We're always happy to respond to your comments, as long as they're nice. And you can also download the podcast, Betting Weekly WTA, on your preferred podcast provider. As you know, Rory is over in Paris covering the Olympic Games. You'll be able to hear his commentary skills at the weightlifting. Sean, we're talking about I don't know if you saw it on the pod, we were talking about your weightlifting. He says, how do you commentate on the weightlifting? And I said, well, this is how you do it. If the guy does a successful lift, you go, and there he goes, and he do what he's got it. He's got it. He's lifted it. That's the personal best for And if he doesn't, you go, so close. Now, but before we go, Rory, this is I want you to do it in the style of someone going for the world record and the Olympic gold in the weightlifting. So tell us how it should be done, please, before we go.
Goodness. Okay. Well, the most famous lifter, he's the super heavyweight, massive Georgian called Lasha Talakadze. So we'll.
Okay.
Hang on, we'll have to
he's going for the gold,
okay.
And he's breaking the world record as well.
So Lasha Talakadze, the big Georgian, the reigning Olympic champion. He's won everything. Can he win a third Olympic gold? He's up to the bar. Well, the thing is, it's funny because obviously people are watching it. That was the build-up. That's
the kind of guy I like. He's up to the bar. He's buying the rounds. He's on the nets. That's it. That's what I like to hear.
No, but obviously, viewers are going to be watching it on TV, so we tend not to talk during the lift. It's kind of when it's up or when it's not.
Okay.
That would be because obviously you can see if he's,
that's fine. He's up to the Georgian sounds like a good guy to me. He's up to the bar, no problems. Up to the bar, no problems around it. Anyway, you can follow Rory. Give us your personal Twitter account, Rory, so everyone wants to follow you and look at all your advice. And you got betting columns around on the Olympics where you want to on this sort of all these novelty sports that come around once every 4 years. But Rory's the main man. Where can they have a look at you and all your content?
Yeah, we had a near miss yesterday. Fiji in the rugby sevens. They got to the final. They're unbeaten, and they lost to France in the final, which was a bit galling. But at Rory Jiwani is my personal Twitter handle. I'm not sure I'm going to be on there that much the next week or two. We'll see. But I get started on the boxing later today, so very much looking forward to that.
There you go. So you can follow Rory and all his coverage on his personal account at Rory Jiwani. Also here at Betting Weekly at Because We Win as well. We'll bring some stuff as well along the next few weeks in the build-up on our social accounts to the US Open. It starts now. The Olympics may be on, but the breakdown, the countdown now to the US Open in Flushing Meadows begins this week with the 500 here in Washington. Rory, take care. Good luck with your bets. Let's keep the roll on. Let's keep this momentum going. 12.19 units up. Let's build that up. Kazakhina is the pick this week. Good luck with everything. And I'll speak to you again Sunday when there's more tennis all the way the next couple of months here on Betting Weekly Studios. Take care.